The Masonic compass is a compass and a square. A compass for curves, which is the heavens, the dome. Square for flat planes, which is the earth, which then generates the Masonic Royal Arch symbol. It also represents the earth, the sun, the moon, the black sun, and Polaris. These are the symbols for the elements. The earth element is the sun, the moon, the black sun, and the flat plane. The sun rotates inwards and then outwards to create the summer and winter seasons. Tropic of Capricorn, the equator, and the Tropic of Cancer. The sun spirals inward to create a small rotation, which is summer for the northern hemisphere, then spirals outward to create the winter for the northern hemisphere, and repeats this process. The constellations are fixed and they rotate around us, creating a giant clock. The sun tells the time of day, the moon tells the month, and the stars tell the year. The sun and the moon rotate around the magnetic North Pole. This is the plane of inertia, planet Earth, and the northern lights come from the center. The sun and the moon represent the principle of creation, male and female, the sun being electric male, the moon being female, which is magnetic. They know this knowledge, but you don't. They want you stupid and dumb and not knowing where you are, but it's okay. I generated this book so you can find out the truth and so you can feel a sense of well-being instead of being confused.
Okay, so today we're diving into something pretty unique, a book actually called Book of Wisdom. And, well, it's not your typical cosmology.
Definitely not. It offers like a whole different way of looking at the earth and heavens.
Yeah, and it uses these familiar symbols, but interprets them, well, kind of uniquely. So I guess our mission today is to really break down what this book's saying about the cosmos and how it all works.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a whole self-contained system.
Right. Okay, so let's start with something familiar. Masonic symbolism, right? The book talks about the compass and the square.
Ah, yeah, the compass.
The compass, they say, represents the heavens.
The curves, yeah.
The curves, yeah, and the square, obviously, the earth, like the flat plane. But then it connects both of these to, get this, the royal arch emblem. I mean, it's like they're saying right from the get-go that these geometric shapes are the link between heaven and earth.
And not just a link, but the way they're created. Like it's a foundational act in their whole cosmology. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like they're setting the stage. Right.
Exactly.
Okay, so then there's this list of, quote, symbols for the elements, which are the sun, the moon, the black sun, and Polaris.
Mm-hmm.
But then it gets weird because it says these also represent, wait for it, the earth, the sun, and the moon. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's definitely layering meaning there. And the earth element being the sun, that's a big difference. They're not just celestial bodies in this book. They're like elemental symbols.
So it's not just what we see in the sky. It's like deeper, like forces or something.
Yeah, like a fundamental level. And the black sun in there too, with the normal sun and moon. That's interesting.
Really interesting. But then, okay, then it gets into like the shape of the earth. It says the earth is a flat plane.
Which, yeah, obviously that's a pretty big difference from, what most people think.
Yeah, bit of a departure. But that idea, it kind of drives everything else they talk about, like how seasons work.
Right, it's foundational to their whole model.
So for the northern hemisphere, they say summer happens when the sun spirals inward and winter's when it spirals outward. And it uses like the tropics of Capricorn and Cancer and the equator as like markers on that path.
Huh. So they tried to explain the changes in the sun's path and the daylight hours without a tilted round Earth orbiting the sun.
Right. Like it's a completely different explanation.
And the tropics and the equator become like super important reference points in their flat Earth system.
Yeah. Okay, so then how about everything else we see up there, the stars and stuff? Well, they say constellations are fixed, like they don't move, and they rotate around us like a giant clock.
Giant clock, huh?
Yeah, and the sun tells the time, the moon, the month, and the stars, the year. And get this, they say the sun and moon orbit the magnetic North Pole, but on a, quote, plane of inertia, which they also call planet Earther.
Wow, so it's like going back to that old idea that everything revolves around us.
Right, a geocentric view.
Yeah, but that plane of inertia thing, that's unique to them. It's like this track or pathway that the sun and moon follow around the North Pole.
Interesting. And they also have an explanation for the northern lights. They say they come from the center.
Which I guess makes sense in their model, where the center is like this source of different things happening.
Yeah. And then there's this whole thing about creation with the sun being like this electric male force and the moon, magnetic female force. It's like, little philosophical,
Yeah, totally. It's like a duality thing,
Yeah.
assigning like energies to those celestial bodies
Hmm.
as like fundamental forces.
Right, like a balance.
A balance, exactly.
Yeah.
Which, you see in a lot of different esoteric traditions.
Oh, interesting. Okay, and last but not least, there's this kind of, well, pointed message in the book. It says that they want to keep us stupid and dumb, like unaware of where we really are. And the book's purpose is to reveal the, quote, truth and help us feel better.
So it's like they're saying there's this hidden knowledge and someone's trying to keep it from us.
Right, exactly. And this book is like the key to like freedom or something.
Personal
Yeah.
empowerment, yeah. Through this knowledge that they're revealing.
Yeah, so I mean, this book of wisdom, it paints a really different picture of the universe.
It really does. Flat Earth, unique symbols, those movements of the sun and moon, and then that whole idea of hidden truth.
Right. It really makes you think about how, like, the assumptions you start with can lead to completely different ways of seeing things.
Absolutely. It's a whole system with its own internal logic.
Right. And it makes you wonder, like, how do those different ways of seeing things, not just the cosmos, but like information itself, how do they affect how we decide what's true?
That's a really good question.
Right. So think about that. How do different ways of understanding not just change what we see, but who gets to decide what's true?
Thanks for diving into this with me.
It's been a pleasure.